Hi. Hello. It's me, Goose. Well, it took a while. It took pulling teeth for them to finally say it, and I'm sure Square did not want to say it, but we all kind of knew. We kind of the TVs pretty much told us straight up this was going to happen. Recent reports that just dropped was Square Enix saying both Final Fantasy Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16 met below expectations. Yep, put the meme up. Put the meme up. And that sucks. That sucks because both 16 and Rebirth are phenomenal games. They're probably the best games Square Enix has made in a minute. And they should be selling 8 million copies, 20 million copies by now, but they're not. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why is 16 and Rebirth just not hitting those lofty expectations for Square? And I believe the lofty expectations for both 16 and Rebirth are pretty reasonable. They cost a lot to make. These games aren't cheap. These games are fully voice acted. These games have, gorgeous cinematic cutscenes. They got beautiful full orchestras. They have these phenomenal gameplay features in there. These are not cheap games. These are not independent games. They cost a significant amount of money. That significant amount of money was, of course, done with Sony. Sony definitely fit the bill for most, both 16 and Rebirth, as well as remakes, budget. And that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. See, here's the thing. When you are using another person's wallet, when you're playing with their pockets, it's easy to become kind of complacent because there's no risk to you. You're not the one losing that much money. They're the one losing money. And I think for Square Enix, in regards to 15, for Rebirth and for 16, they went all the way. They splurged every single cent, dime you could possibly imagine to make these games look and play as great as anything they had ever made before. And Sony was like, yes, continue. Yes, go ahead. Add some more rendering to Cloud's freckled face. That's right. Make Clive's titties extra titiful. Yes, please, please. You are mine forever. Because Sony is that bitch. Sony is a vindictive bitch. And Square, while they have a pretty good relationship with Sony, found themselves being beholden by Sony and Sony's wobbly console in that PS5. Now, this is not saying the PS5 sucks as a console. This is not saying the PS5 is worthless as a console. But the 9th gen of gaming has been very mid. I'm going to be the first one to say it. I'm probably not the first one to say it. I'm sure one of many people who fucking said it. Then this 9th gen is not great. It's not optimal. We're still getting games released on the X and the PS4. A lot of remakes and remasters have been pushed out. A lot of games have been delayed all the fuck. A lot of games that take literally a time generation to come out. Corporate malfeasances going around, studios being closed left and right. It's just not been. It's not been great. It's not been cash money, as it were, for the game industry and the gamers that love the industry. So, in regards to Sony, they are the leader. They're the market leaders. Nintendo doesn't even consider itself being part of the whole entire console discussion. They'll keep doing whatever they do and they'll make stupid money over because Nintendo is Nintendo and that's what Nintendo does. But Sony is very much in the catbird seat, and the catbird is fat and old. And they are not doing anyone any favors by making Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake console only exclusive to the PlayStation. And this doesn't mean if it managed to release on the Xbox, they would sell 5 million copies worldwide. No, that's not it at all. But they would sell more. No matter how small of a boost that they would get, they still would sell some copies. Every copy counts. Here's the thing: every copy counts. And so, what should Square do at this point? They're already locked in. God knows they've already locked in for Part 3, and probably locked in for Final Fantasy 17. There's been a bunch of rumors going out with Astro Boy that the reason why Final Fantasy characters did not appear in Astro Boys because Sony is breaking up with Square Enix is breaking up with Sony, and they're betraying them, or whoever what crazy fanboy nonsense is. It could be as simple as it costs too much to get the license, or Square Enix didn't think that Team Sobi was worth shit, which would be sounding like Square. I'm going to be completely honest. They would probably do that. And there could be some fracture between Sony and Square Enix because they're both discussing, like, listen, these games are not selling well on your console. We have conditions in their contract that, you would give the benefit. And Sony did. I can only imagine. And again, let me asterisk here. I don't know shit. Okay, I'm not an insider. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a game journalist. I'm not any of this shit. I am merely just a goose on the internet who plays these games, and I'm making my own observations and my own guesstimations and opinions about this. If you want more in-depth research, wait for Jason Schreier to drop the bomb. He's going to have something. Okay, Jason Schreier's going to have something cooking. But to go back, I assume that production cost and marketing cost was wholly financed by Sony. Because marketing usually costs just as much as the production of the game itself. And I'm sure Sony gladly fit the bill for that. Because there's a lot of promotion for Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and I think 16. But, well, here we are. So Square Enix is going to have to put on their big boy pants and is going to have to start risking more of their own money on these games and break away from being a Sony only third-party game company. They're going to have to, because both the Final Fantasy brand as a whole and Square Enix as a whole, they are not in great places at the moment. Now, here's the thing. Should Final Fantasy Rebirth actually win the Game of the Year for this year at the Games Fist Game Awards, that would be a magnificent feather in a cap for Square Enix and a magnificent feather in a cap for Sony. I personally think it will win Game of the Year, despite the competition, because it's just, my own problems notwithstanding, it's just a fantastic game. And it really is. It's definitely a return to form for Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy Rebirth. It's really a unique, memorable gaming experience. It's what gaming is all about and it's what Final Fantasy is all about for Rebirth. And I think if Rebirth wins that coveted Game of the Year award, it will do great for morale and for viability of the Final Fantasy brand. That's what I think it is. Because while Final Fantasy is a long-standing brand, it has a loyal fan base. In terms of the cultural relevance it has, in my opinion, it's dimmed considerably since the 8th gen. Since the 7th gen. Persona 5 really took a sledgehammer. It really became a massive cultural touchstone for the PS4 era of games, which that is a spot that should have been reserved for 15. 15 should have been that RPG capstone. And it wasn't just Persona 5. Tales of Zilla also did really... It is. No, I'm sorry. Tales of Arise. I'm so sorry. I like Tales of Zilla too. Tales of Zilla's pretty good. But Tales of Arise also did ridiculously well numbers as well. So, as well as, other games coming out, other RPGs, both independent and small budgeted, also came in there and did fantastic numbers. And while 15 sold really, really well, and it did, it also, unfortunately, came with a lot of baggage. A lot of baggage in terms of development, in terms of, executives leaving companies. Just a lot of things came with 15. And 15 was never allowed to breathe the success that it garnered. And despite what you might feel, Final Fantasy 15 was a success. It did sell a lot of copies. It probably at this point is going to make more money, or did make more money than both 16 and 15 and remake, 16 and remake and Rebirth combined at this point. So it's a unmitigated success, regardless of how you feel about it. But at a cost to Final Fantasy reputation. And so I think if Final Fantasy gets that Game of the Year award, it'll help it out a little bit more, because then we have that prominence that it has eluded them for so long. Will it fix everything overnight? Absolutely not. Definitely not. I think Final Fantasy 17 will have to be the perfect fusion of both 16 and Rebirth's great qualities to really stand out. But also the stiff competition is coming whenever they drop Persona 6. The next game, Claire Obscura Expedition 33, that has a lot of people's eyes. That's buzzy as hell. Lost Soul Aside, whenever that fucking game comes, that's been in the cooking for a long time too. You know, there's a lot of our RPGs, a lot of our games that are coming in with that same spirit, and it's a little bit flashier than Final Fantasy. And Square is going to have to compete against that. They usually didn't have to before, you know. That's not even including the Western RPGs that come out as well. So basically, Square is cooked, but it's not final. It's not final. This is not going to be the end of Square. It's not going to be the end of Final Fantasy. This is not going to be the end of the re-trilogy. It's not the end of any of that. That's not what I'm saying. It just means there's going to be a lot of hard talks with Square's executives, Square's president, and Sony's president and Sony executives. And some decisions will need to be made for whatever the future Final Fantasy and re-trilogy is coming out. They're gonna have to talk, because if we want to see more Final Fantasy games, we need them to sell. That's it. They need to sell. And we need to support them. But Square and Sony are going to have to figure out what's best for the game as a whole. And I know Sony the bitch. They're going to say, well, we're going to keep paying you more money to keep you on the console. And the president of Square is going to have to listen. That's great and everything, but the sales are not reflecting what you're putting in. Like, yeah, you can pay for all this shit, but we need more money. We need more money. So that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on the recent result. Of course, again, if you're looking for something that's a more thorough, detailed analysis on all this stuff, just watch watch YouTube. There's going to be 9 million videos about this coming up real soon. I'm positive even Maximilian will talk about this, and I look forward to hearing what Max got to say about this, because, you know, Max is my boy. But I think this is a good wake-up call for Square, and this will push them in the right direction. And that's why I think it's a good idea. I think it's good that this happened, to let them know that while Sony is saving their asses, they're still sinking. There's no point in putting on a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. We need to cut ties and be free, and be able to be a free agent. We need to be able to soar those wings, those beautiful CGI wings that Final Fantasy loves so much. Will this affect Sony's relationship with Square going forward? Absolutely. Like I said, Sony is a vindictive bitch, but even Sony realizes that they can't be too vindictive, because a large portion of the Square Enix fan base is on a PlayStation console. So they'll be grumpy about it. They won't like it, but they'll accept it. They'll accept it because they have no choice. But Square has to realize that. Square has to realize that they have the most to lose by only sticking with PlayStation. And they need to make sure that their games come out multi-platform. They need to be on the PC. They need to be on the Xbox or whatever the fuck system Microsoft's going to have. And they need to be on the Switch successor. They cannot stay just a Sony-only third-party development. And I think Square is not the only company that's going to be in the same boat. I think many companies are going to be on different boats about the same issue. Like, yeah, we can't just stick with one company anymore. We're going to have one platform anymore. We're going to have this multi-plat. The future is multi-plat. If you're a first-party studio, yeah, whatever. If you're a third-party studio, multi-plat. So that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on Square Enix's very bad, no good Wednesday, or Thursday, as I think it's Japan. But let me know in the comments what you think. Again, these are my opinions. It's not backed up by any kind of research. It's just my whatever. But let me know in your comments. Like, subscribe, support the Goose. I'm Goose. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. You have a good day. Bye.